This is Mike with Mutual Reception Astrology and the Astrology Shitposting Association. And this is a live interview with Joali, the star in this particular drama.
Yeah. It worked.
We did it. I guess it wanted my phone to be horizontal, and it was vertical.
Got it. Yeah. Well, this is horizontal, and it's got both of us side to side, so it's not like
Yeah, so it's equal.
This is perfect.
That worked out. Absolutely. Hi, Michael.
Well, hello, Joali. How are you doing?
I am sick today, but I'm going to do this. I'm ready for this.
I'm a little bit sick today, too, but I'm drinking a little bit anyway because it's tradition. So,
yes. Do it. Might as well. Absolutely.
you know?
So if I'm hard of hearing, I'm like deaf in this ear right now.
Okay.
So I'm going to just do my best. The lighting will fluctuate as the sun like does its thing. So I'm sorry.
No. So I've got basically some set questions that I wanted to ask you, and then we'll just kind of go off those set questions into more of a free flow once we get to the end. So a lot of this is really kind of an opportunity for you to be known and kind of what your story is and what your path is that led you to where we are right now. And there's some of the key points that I wanted to kind of bring out, and some maybe biographical details, but not too deep on that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Shoot, go for it.
So I figured it's fun to start out nice and easy. So I figured maybe you could tell us your big three and your favorite candy to get on Halloween.
So my big three is Aries, Leo, Leo moon, Leo rising. And my favorite candy, I really like gummy candies. I don't think they give them out that much. But I'm a fan of like gummy type stuff. And nerds are really good. I don't even know if they're popular anymore. Fun Dip was super exciting when I was a kid. I don't even know if kids mess with that.
I don't know if that exists anymore, but yeah.
I'm basically like dating myself, like aging myself at this point. But.
Well, it's a good thing to do. I hear it. There's lots of good candy. My kids just came home with a big truckload of candy from Halloween, and you've got a little baby too, so you have a few Halloweens to wait, and then you'll be out knocking on doors.
Yes. I don't know if I'm gonna like give her all the candy or like eat it, or like I'll probably eat most of it. She can't have it.
When she's really young. Yeah, that's pretty smart. Give her a pretty big mom tax.
Yes, exactly.
So I kind of want to ask, what's your astrology origin story? Is it in your family, or did you come across it yourself?
Okay, so it is absolutely unequivocally not in my family whatsoever. First of all, I'm a person of color. Second of all, my family is Hispanic and like educated, so they don't like associate with astrology, and they think it's like of the devil. It's not even like a conversation. They're not like so superstitious that it's like of the devil, but it's just not a thing. Like, and then my dad, he's not Hispanic, but he's just like, oh, there's more, you experience more magnets in the hospital than these planets have on you, So he's like a typical cap. So he's not fucking with it either. I actually arrived at astrology through tarot. So tarot is like my first love. I probably got into tarot in 2007, 2008. Mm-hmm. First deck, didn't know what I was doing for the longest. Formally went to tarot school when I moved to Seattle, studied under a great woman up in the city of Shoreline for a few years. That was amazing. She had a very intuitive approach to tarot. So we looked into a lot of different associations, and it was just like very free form. She was amazing. And then I joined a lot of tarot groups on Facebook. And I saw that there was an association with astrology. So I just like briefly looked into it. I always knew I was an Aries and was always proud of that. But I wasn't like super into it. I knew my new moon and rising. I had like looked into it briefly, but then eventually I looked into it and then realized it was like a whole world. So I started out in one of those types of groups where it's like, guess my Venus, and it's like 12 face pictures, and I like about that in the group and got like muted. And then they were like, well, if you really want to learn astrology, go to Anything Astrology. So then I went to Anything Astrology, and they had their noses so far up in the air. I wasn't like, and somebody like tagged this group. And I remember I had to Google what shit posting was because like I didn't know what it was.
Got it.
And I Googled shit posting and I was like, oh. And then I saw a penny post and my life was
And your life was forever changed.
Yeah, that's how it happened. So I'm actually fairly new to all of it, but using like my tarot background and like my love for like, I've always had a love for mythology and history and stuff like that. So, you know, I know the stories of the gods. I know like associations, Jungian approaches to things and stuff like that, archetypes is really up my alley. So it wasn't that far of a stretch on the surface, but obviously astrology is a very, very deep science, and there's years and years worth of learning to do.
For sure.
For that.
Well, tarot is kind of a shorthand of astrology, so it is a really good pathway into it. So I'm glad that you found your way into it from there. So I assume when you were doing cards that you read your own cards every once in a while?
I did. I did read my own cards. I wasn't like a super like obsessive person. I'm very studious. Like that's where the Capricorn comes in for me. So I love to study. I love to take notes. I spent a lot of time telling myself like I wasn't ready. I don't get this, you know, before I really like immersed myself into it. That's why I had to go to like formal tarot school. Like a lot of people don't care, but I'm all about like formal teachings and classrooms, and like I'm super into that. So
that's cool. I never did do that myself, but it's an interesting path to go down and get that formal teaching and have that piece of paper, you know, to put on your
absolutely.
I have a couple more questions. I want to dive a little bit deeper into tarot. So I know that when I first started reading tarot, that there would be cards that would come up that I'd be like, oh, that one's coming up again. What was the card that you would go about, and what was the card that you found often represented you in tarot?
Well, I'm a Pisces Mercury, so the things that may be super obvious to other people are filtered completely differently for me. So the card I would get often was the moon, and I thought it was a great thing. So I never associated it negatively. I felt connected to it. I would get it all the time because I didn't know what was going on, obviously. Also, I identified with a combination of the Queen of Wands. I am the Queen of Wands, but I want to be the High Priestess.
Got it.
But I'm the Queen of Wands, you know?
Nothing wrong with the court cards.
Yeah, so that's basically like, you know, I guess the card like I never wanted to get, but I got often was the Devil. Hated that card. Know exactly what it represents for me. So that was really difficult for me to get. But now that like I am more studied in tarot, I think like the most problematic card in the deck is the Tower. I would say, and actually the first time, what really drew me in is you were reading cards one day on live, and I like peeked in, and I know I was interested because I was in an astrology. I was like trying to compare astrology groups to tarot groups. It's a completely different world, by the way. And you had like said you said hi to me, and you said my name right, and you drew a card for me, and you drew the Tower. So the Tower is probably the most problematic card, but you know, I get a lot of, it depends on the week in the season, you know, different cards will follow you depending on what you need to go through. Never the Star though. The Star was never on my radar.
What decks do you use? What are your decks?
I'm a pretty big Rider-Waite girl. Just because of the symbolism and the ability to see the faces and the facial, the facial expressions. I'm really big into archetypes. So decks that are just like, I don't know, like the arts. If I can't feel emotion from the art, I'm not going to be as good as reading, and I don't want to solely rely on rote memorization of associations.
Sure.
So I'm a Rider Waite girl. I also have the Enchanted Tarot was probably the first deck I got. And then Morgan Greer is great. I'm not as connected to that deck,
Yeah.
but mostly, you know, I just stick with the traditional for the most part. Because like I said, I like to master stuff. I don't always just like assume I'm like ready to like go on to other things.
Word. So yeah, you kind of talked a little bit about it, but my next question was, how did you first find shit posting? And it sounds like you found it through other groups. So
yes.
What were some of your first interactions with the penny post, and what were some of your first reactions to the group, both negative and positive?
My first interaction was actually, there was some girl named Anna something, and I forget the last name, but she was like some white girl that was like defending the use of the word nigga intensely. Nigga this, nigga that. I have a black friend, like the whole 9 yards. And I'm hot off like political commentary and like getting into with people. So I just jumped right in to let her know about her nigga this, nigga that. And that was interesting. That was exciting because, you know, I'm
fire.
And I felt like I was with other people that like went hard. I never like knew what trolling. I'm like naive in this really weird way. Like I didn't know what like trolling was. I had to like Google all these terms. I'm not like a 4chan like Reddit type girl. I don't know about internet etiquette. Like I didn't like grow up like that. So I'm just social and opinionated. So that was really cool to be able to like say whatever. What really surprised me was like, I'm so isolated online. Like I've deleted and blocked everybody that doesn't agree with me. So I don't, excuse me, I don't associate with like the other side. Like I don't have anybody on my friends list that's a white girl that would be saying nigga this, nigga that. So I don't like experience that. So it was kind of exciting. It was like a place away from myself that I could experience stuff, but then like unplug. So the penny post I loved because I am a huge fan of self-love, and I love like irreverent women who just don't give a fuck. Like I'm just like fascinated with women who don't give single fucks. And even if Penny says some problematic things, we all do. I was just fascinated with people's obsession with her magnetism, with her bravery, and I'm a huge fan of radical self-love. So I made a post similar to hers, and I had like this super thirsty picture. And I don't post like thirst stuff. Like I'm not like that, you know. I may look a certain way, really. So the first time I ever did something like that and posted a selfie was in the group. It was really well received, and I was able to like be really loving to people, and I think people didn't expect that. You know, so people were like gonna come and tell me about myself, that I was ugly and fat or whatever, and I was just like super loving. So that was cool. I got to experience emotion. So that was probably like my first few posts. You know, I made my own post pretty quickly, so I got involved pretty quickly.
You got right into it. I definitely noticed that. Like once I started seeing you around, I started seeing you a lot around, and you were jumping right into the big fights that were on the page.
Yeah, absolutely. I love to fight.
That I respect is people that dive into the fights, whichever side they happen to be on of the fights. People that go hard are fun and bring a lot of people to the page and get people
I can't resist.
up, you know. So tell us a little bit about the experience of becoming an admin, because it suddenly happened, and then you were in this whole new kind of aspect of shitposting. So what was that like, and what did you think at the time?
Yeah, it was so weird. So first of all, I don't know, and I still don't know, because I've asked you a million trillion times. It was like my main concern with life was, how did this happen? I don't know if I did it on accident. I don't know. I was confused because it was the same day you made Joe an admin. So I didn't know if you had like made me an admin because you made Joe an admin, but I was made moderator and then I was made an admin. And it all happened really fast and you didn't like explain. So I'm new to astrology. I'm new to shitposting. I don't know these people, and now I'm an admin. And at first, it was really, the vibe was different because we had a different group of admins. And I was like the only one of color besides Zach, who's Australian. He's still of color though. But it's
Even though
Australian.
he's Australian? Is that what you're trying to
Yeah,
say?
even though he's believe it or not. So, and at the time, I don't think there was anybody else that I knew of. And it was really like right leaning. And I was like, really like, what the fuck did I get myself into? Because I'm not.
That was probably
Yeah.
during the period where I was putting a lot of, I was arguing with Jennifer a lot and doing a lot of memes back and forth. Is that what you're talking about?
It just was like when I would bring up, like, I wouldn't talk very much in the chat because I wasn't like welcomed. It wasn't like, oh, Joali's here. Like, nobody knew who the fuck I was. So I was just like some girl there. And when I did bring stuff up, like, it would be like, this person's being racist in the group or something. And I would like bring it up before I just deleted and like just jumped in. And nobody like had my back, you know. I felt a present company at that time. Now it's a different dynamic. We have a lot more people of color. We have like 2 other Latina girls. We have, you know, we have Charlie, we have Marcus, you know, we had Noctis. So we had like Avian, we had like a lot more people of color. So it's a lot more diverse. In the beginning, I felt like I didn't know what I was gonna do about all that.
Well, the old tradition of shitposting was to just basically abduct people that were interesting from shitposting and add them to admin chat, and then to admin them pretty much like the same time without any explanation. So that is actually,
I didn't know that.
that is that's probably the first time I've ever told you that, but that's been the process for almost every single admin that's been added to shitposting over the course.
I realized that later. I thought it was like, I kept asking everybody.
Yeah, it's just, it was supposed to be kind of the surprise, and then suddenly you were there, you know. And some people, you know, liked it, some people didn't. There's been lots of ups and downs in it, but you know, that's because it's messy, and I know you don't really like messy so much. So I kind of want to get into the next part. So you pulled cards for everybody in the group because we had a plan. So tell us your perspective of that plan and the card pull and how it felt at the time. We'll get into how it felt later.
Absolutely. So I want to preface this with a few things. First of all, I'm speaking for myself and solely for myself. I know I've been like one of the people that's been like on live and like, see, how did that happen? I don't know how that lighting changed. The sun came. One of the people that were like on live and like telling my side of the story, but you know, as we'll see, other people have different points of view. So I am by no means like eliminating or belittling anybody else's point of view. I have a 5th house stellium, so I love to have fun. I'm a really creative person. I'm out there. I have those Leo placements. I thought we were going to do tarot performance art, and the tarot was going to be used as basically like a outline or a structure of posts and maybe different performances or interactions we would organize to talk about tarot, talk about astrology, maybe let people guess like what cards we were, or you know, just anything that could happen. So I pulled cards. I've been with tarot for a long time. I've never associated it super metaphysically. I think that's important to say as well. I've always like associated tarot with the Jungian approach, like
Archetypes.
ink blot test type thing, intuitive introspection, not like spiritual, like magic. That's just not my approach. Like I said, I have a lot of like Capricorn placements, so I don't like, the Pisces is there, but it's more like an Alice in Wonderland Pisces than like a mystic Pisces. So I pulled the cards at random and shuffled them, but did all my rituals, like, you know, did the fucking, you know, quartz pendulum over it, you know, my cards were charged. I go through all the motions, but I don't necessarily, I never before then had like associated it with like magic or spiritual or like super anything outside of our control, basically. So I pulled the cards at random, I put the names at random, and I did it on live, and I was kind of like secretive about it. I didn't really explain what I did. And as I was pulling the cards, it was like, damn. But I've been called out by tarot a million times. Tarot calls you out. Go pull cards right now. You'll get called out. You know what I mean? Sure. So I wasn't surprised. I didn't think it was that huge of a deal. But some of the cards were like, damn, you know, some of them seemed like really weird. Like, how is Jem going to be the high priestess? Or how is Penny going to be temperance? You know, but I didn't know Penny was going to get in a relationship and Jem was going to end up at ship, you know, so, and then it just all kind of fell into place as time progressed. So I did pull the cards on live. I was kind of naive about it and didn't know how serious it was going to be.
How were you naive? Because I've heard this a couple times and I kind of want, what do you mean by you were naive about it when you say that?
Like, I know how much I care about tarot and how much I think it is, but when I was like talking to people in the group about it, some people were like, didn't care, you know what I mean? And I didn't think it was going to be so serious, you know? I didn't think it was going to be so dead serious. Like, it ended up being one of the most like serious situations of my life that I was like directly involved in, as far as lending my energy to something that actually affected a lot of people. So in that sense, I was naive. I think if I was like aware that I was like setting intentions and like putting these cards on people, and it was also being filtered through me. So there are elements of the cards that aren't on public display because they represent that for me, and that's like my relationship with them. So it's like, it's almost like if, you know, this is being seen through my lens in the sense of like, you just put these rose-colored glasses on it. And I was naive to that. I was naive to the intention. I was naive to, I've never been part of a group or a team, you know. I'm the oldest child. My siblings are like 7 and 11 years younger than me. So I don't really think about like group dynamics and like so many different moving parts. So my brain is able to focus on some things, but not always a huge, I look in the future, but sometimes I can't like be aware of people's own selfness and taking that into account. I can be aware of myself, but unless people really like make it purposefully known, it's harder for me to be aware.
Well,
so I think that's how I was naive, and naive of my own power and like my own like presence. And I was made aware of that at a later date through this process.
Well, what did you think the original intent was of the whole card drama? Like, what was your conception of what the intent was when you first
like
did
the
it?
Canterbury Tales, honestly, like acting.
Okay, good.
I thought it was like acting and like displaying, you know, like when we would do like our Mars posts or like our this theme posts. I thought it was like that. Thought it was performance art acting. And the tarot card was the archetype of the character you were going to act. And you had all the resources of that and all the associations of that card to perform.
So which card were you and how do you relate with that card?
I was a star. I don't initially relate to the star. I don't pull it often. So I didn't really know. The star represents astrology. So the star represents what I was passionate about in the group. And then when I looked deeper into it, it was like love of humanity and like love. And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty much what I already do in the group, you know? I try to be pretty loving. I am known to pop off. So there's like that as well. It's not just like I'm loving all the time to everybody all the time. But I think for the most part, you know, I was like, oh, this will be easy. I was kind of disappointed because I was like, oh, I don't have like something super exciting to do. You know, it's not a stretch. And then like Aquarius, like I'm not an Aquarius. I don't have no Aquarius. I mean, I think I have Eros in Aquarius, but
yeah,
very little.
What even is that? I don't even know. It's like
it's an asteroid.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really ever looked into Eros, but to have one like asteroid in Aquarius is not a big influence. That's for
I have like very little air, so like I was just like, I don't know how to be an Aquarius, and Aquarius is like whatever to me. My daughter's an Aquarius, so I'm gonna have to like work through that. But
so that's pretty cool. Let's get into what your experience was like. So how did it feel when everything, like, tell me about the roller coaster at the very beginning, like where it started to hit the rails.
Okay, so what's easy? Once I realized this was like legit manufactured drama and people were gonna like make problems, I didn't think making problems was necessary. I thought we could just perform. No need to like create a problem. Once like problems were being like purposefully made and like fires were being set and it was happening really quick, I think anybody saw me in the chat be like, slow down, no, redirect, I don't want to do this. So I was like very vocal about like, no, this is too sexist, this is too racist, I'm not pretending to be racist, you know. So I felt like it got out of control quickly because anytime like something was brought up, you know, somebody immediately like went out and like did something about it. And I was kept trying to tell people to slow down. I'm like, slow down. We need to set this up for Scorpio season. We're like in the middle of Libra season. You guys are acting crazy. So there were several times where I felt like that was problematic. It was speeding up too fast. The day it all happened, I was at the doctor's with Ebony for like, I have a baby. She was micro preemie, and she was like at her, you know, 8-month, like super important doctor's appointment, checking on her and her development. So I couldn't even be involved. It just all happened so fast and so rushed that it was like, how are we supposed to do anything? So I was really annoyed because I had worked on content and I had, you know, tried to plan, and I was really serious about it. I thought people were getting carried away with the drama and like Brooke being the devil card and making it all about the devil. I thought that was really annoying because I didn't feel like the devil was a powerful card. And I specifically said like maybe the tower, maybe death. And I said that, you can probably look it up.
Yeah, I remember.
But not the devil.
I would never spend the time to scroll back that far.
I know, it's too much. But I'm just saying, I said it. And I was like, I kind of was like disinterested at that point when I saw that it was just all about the devil doing this and that. Because I didn't feel that that was true to tarot, because the devil's not that serious. Like the devil's not gonna like.
Do you feel like the devil is like a weaker trump than the other trumps in some way? Is that what you mean?
Not weaker, but I don't feel like the devil takes center stage in a performance. I just felt like the way it was being talked about, and I think it just had to do with who was involved, like who was eager to be involved, you know? But, and mine is for sure like a peripheral card, I felt, the star. I just felt like the devil wouldn't have as much leeway as like, it was being like, then the devil's gonna do this and the devil's gonna do that and nobody's gonna fucking do anything else, you know? I just felt like that was like, okay, well, somebody's gonna come up and run up on that devil because that devil's not the strongest card.
You felt like the devil was given too much power in the narrative, basically?
Yeah, way too much power. It's Capricorn. Like, yeah, it's strong in and of itself, but there's so much other energies that are more destructive, chaotic, healing, transformative than the devil, to me.
Okay.
But that's the beautiful thing about tarot is like, depends on how you feel about it. I feel like the devil's easily overcome because if you look at the card, the people are like, yeah, they're chained, but they're pretty like complacent. You know, it's not like they're fighting against the strength. You know.
They're just, like, okay. So you were pretty much rooting to a certain extent for Death in the Tower, in that particular.
Inadvertently, not as people, not like Heather and Noctis as people. I wasn't rooting for them, but I was rooting for true to tarot circumstances that I felt.
So, okay,
because I had told when I drew the cards, I was worried that Heather wouldn't want to be Death. And I was like, that kind of sucks. And I was like, well, if she wants to trade with somebody, maybe somebody will trade.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember I was trying to like butter her up. Not butter her up, but I just told her like, you're the star. It's Scorpio season. So this is about you. And I had told her that the very first night I drew the cards. And then I don't think we ever talked about it again.
Huh.
I don't think she was like ever brought up again.
Well, it felt like that there was a side conversation, and this definitely happened, where it was the star, the hermit, the devil, and strength that had like a side conversation that were actually probably the most interested in like the playing out the drama. And that's where a lot of the planning actually happened. And then in that side chat, there was a lot of people that we were planning on bringing on later as they started getting more involved in their roles, which kind of set up pretty immediately like an elite inside-outside game, which is always like, it's kind of something that's almost necessary, I feel like, to move things forward, because you need the people that have the energy to move things to you know, have a bigger stake in the game, you know, and people that are only peripherally involved or barely involved. You got to bring them on once they're like, feel like they're missing out in it, or they want to get a little bit deeper into it. But so you were part of that initial conversation. What was that about for you then?
I understood because I felt like we were the ones that cared about it. Like I would bring it up in the chat and some people were like, you're taking it too tarot. And I'm like, all right, well, so I just felt like not everybody cared. And I know there was like a specific divide of like people who did not care. And it was like trendy to not care about this manufactured drama. And there was like people who were like, I've been through this before. I'm not doing manufactured drama. And in my mind, I was like, this isn't manufactured drama. This is like performance.
Well,
until it became manufactured stupid ass drama. Yeah.
The idea was soap opera, right?
Yeah, or just like I felt like a Greek tragedy, you know, like theater.
So when did you realize that it had kind of gone wrong? Like after it started. So after it kicked off on Scorpio season, after you came back from that appointment with your kid, when did you realize?
I knew at the appointment it was a disaster.
Huh.
I knew at the appointment. I turned my phone off because I was by myself with her, and you know, you're taking care of a baby in a car seat and all that stuff. I couldn't deal. So I tried to like throw some stuff out there, throw some support behind Jem, who like I thought didn't care and was like out there caring. So I was like so impressed, and I wanted to like support her real quick and tried to see what was going on, but I missed it. By the time I came home and I saw that Heather and Noctis had took it over, I was kind of like, okay, I see what happened there. And I congratulated Noctis, and I told him, like, good job. I understand, you know, how that works, whatever. Let me know when you need me. And then there was like radio silence for hours and a lot of like talking in the chats, and none of us were in the group. We were all just in the chats. And then I realized when we added them and brought them into our chat, like, oh, you guys are playing the game now. And they were like, what the fuck is this? I was like, oh, yeah, we're too late. So I realized then, you know, and then when it started getting super personal and like the name calling and really crazy stuff going on. And when people started coming for me, you know, when I was commenting and I didn't have like that little star next to my name, and people were, you know, saying really mean things to me, talking about my appearance and saying like, nobody wants to see you, blah, blah, blah. Then I was like, oh shit, this like really like spiraled out of control and my friends are sad. And, you know, we lost our group of 15,000 and we don't know if we're going to get it back.
True.
It just happened too fast. It was just all fired too fast. And like, it happened so fast that like anybody who was paying close attention wouldn't have gotten anything from it either. So it was really hard to like, I was like, how do I save face? How do I, you know, make this make sense? You know, so I was like trying to talk to Brooke to see how we do this. I went to other groups to see what this looked like to other people, what they thought. There's all types of conspiracies that you were Noctis, that we're all the same person, that this was manufactured. I mean, there were even people that, you know, I wouldn't think who really thought you were behind all of it. I never really did, but I'm naive. So I kind of take things that, you know, in that sense, like.
So you didn't think so, but you were suspicious a little bit still? Is that what you mean by that?
Not of you. I wasn't suspicious of you. Being Noctis or like telling Noctis what to do. I had and experienced both of you enough to know like this was him on his own shit, you know, and he didn't have a plan. You usually have a plan.
Yeah, even if it's stupid, I usually have a plan.
Yeah,
sure.
Even if it's dumb.
Even if it's extra dumb. So I guess, you know, there's people in the audience right now, and probably some of the people in the audience have some questions. I do want to allow some people to ask what they maybe have some burning questions about, but also kind of get into it. The last kind of question that I have for you is like, how has this changed you personally? Like, so you were the change card. You were also a group identity card. You're all the things that are associated with the star, which is like new beginnings, plans for the future. And I've seen a lot of those things kind of play out in your life, but how has it felt for you? And like, what's been the transformational aspects? Goodness,
it's been profound. So I was really like emotional about it. And because I didn't realize how much I had connected to this group so quickly, and how, you know, how I made these connections with these people, and they're either sad or they're not talking to me or they're suspicious of me. And that was really hard because my interactions with people had been really genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And on my part, and I had talked to somebody and they had said, I caught somebody outside of this game, but within our group at the time, in a lie and something they had lied about in their personal life.
Uh-huh.
And it's kind of profound. It was like, why would you lie about that? That's kind of interesting. So I confronted that individual about that lie. And I said, you know, and they responded and they said, I don't owe you anything. And I said, okay, that's fine. You don't owe me anything. Friendship, you know, I just base my friendships on truth. And they told me friendship is a strong word. And I was like offended. I'm like, oh, so we're not friends? Okay. So it was like this whole journey of like questioning my feelings, questioning like, am I crazy that I feel all this stuff? And I feel all these people's energy, and I want to help. So there was that transformation. There was also the transformation on a very, very personal level of being aware of myself, of being self-aware. And I could do a whole video. My dad realized when I was really young that I had issues with self-awareness and had me write a paper on metacognition in like 4th grade. So I've always had like issues with like being aware of myself. And I have somebody in the group. I've made really good friends with a lot of the other admins that really helped me hold a mirror to myself and my intent and my power and my presence. And that has really made me aware. And then I also realized it doesn't really matter if I don't need other people's validation for me to be genuine. So that required a level of bravery. And I think through that bravery, other people found inspiration to say, yeah, this affected me. You know, this isn't on the internet. I just thought the whole tired ass mantra of this isn't real life, this is the internet. I knew that was bullshit from the jump. I'm like, there are elements of real life to this. There's real emotions, there's real relationships, there's real connections, there's real expressions going on. And I don't think the public will ever know the depths, and I don't think they need to know, or it's relevant, the depths of how this affected us as a group. But it really did, even in the minutia of the archetypes and the meanings of the cards. And then to really know that my gift for tarot is real. You know, I had people tell me,
Real.
I watched you pull those cards and I felt the power. I watched it 3 times and I'm like, oh, really? So it just really like boosted me up in the sense of like being aware of my own power and my own presence and my own intention and my own responsibility thereof. So if I had it to do over again, I would have assigned cards. I wouldn't have just involved so many people. I would have chosen maybe 10 assigned cards and done it that way. I think the way we did it, I really just threw these cards on people and said, here you go. And it is my responsibility as the practitioner of tarot to be responsible with it. And I thought about, like, what if my tarot groups knew I did this?
Huh.
What if they knew I did this? Like, what if they knew I just took tarot to a shit posting group and like.
So you kind of felt like you.
Love and light. They're like evolved city compared to us.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
I'm just
like,
saying. But okay.
The way they conduct themselves. Like, I couldn't even explain this to like a tarot practitioner. And like, it's just so out there. I tried to explain it to one lady and she was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I explained the story to my birth mom the other day and she got it. She understood the aspect of the story.
They would just tell me I'm irresponsible, because it was irresponsible to just really draw tarot.
Well, maybe. I mean, I remember one time, I'm just going to go really quickly. I don't usually bring it back to me on this level in the interview. But I remember one time I played like King's Cup with tarot cards. And that was the worst fucking thing that you can do, right? So I think somebody died in the neighborhood that we were in that night because we heard screams and like gunshots and shit. So I never played like games like King's Cup with the tarot. But I think that playing roles, the tarot would be pretty aligned with that. I'm kind of wondering, and I don't want to, because you were the one that dealt the cards. and you had like this certain feeling about what the devil meant and what it didn't mean, if that was part of the reason why the devil was not able to express itself according to the plan that we came up with. Because it kind of makes some sense on
to me it makes perfect sense, because to me, and this is nothing against Brooke, you know, being the devil, but the devil is, first of all, a liar, and second of all, bitch ass. Anybody who's strong is gonna run up on the devil. Like the devil needs weakness in order to be strong. It needs other people to be weak. That's the way I see it. Not everybody sees it that way. But that's how I conquer the devil that haunts me. Like, first of all, the devil's a liar, and I have to give the devil power in order for the devil to have power. It's not just gonna like run up and have power. So I think absolutely, I think this whole scenario and people's cards were absolutely filtered through me and my intent, in my opinion, that I think doesn't, like I thought didn't affect it, but absolutely did affect the way the roles were played out. You know? Absolutely.
So if you had to do it all over again, would you pull the cards?
No, I wouldn't. I would assign the cards. I would still be involved. I would still assign them, take it upon myself to like strategically assign them.
Okay.
And it would still probably be fucked up, but I would assign them, and I wouldn't like magically draw them. And I wouldn't, it was too many people. Like the whole major arcana, like that's a lot.
That is a lot of people.
And I would make sure that people that were involved knew about tarot. And I think that's part of being responsible. You know? And like consent and like having them know, like, you're representing this. I'm just like gonna put the Tower card on somebody's life, you know? Here. And look at the consequences. So. And it was really important for me to take responsibility for that.
Yeah.
And come clean about like the because there was this whole like, why are people emotional? Why are there emotions? And I was like, there's obviously emotions. So I really wanted to take the air out of that quickly and allow people to have emotions about stuff, because a lot of people felt some type of way about the shitposting group Inc., you know? And so I went on live and spoke my truth there. And now I'm just like, after, you know, very riveting, life-changing conversations with people, I'm aware of my own responsibility and my own duty to be self-aware and to know of my power and intent and control that, you know, because everybody has their own world. And it's not like they're just gonna play cookie cutter roles out of like my narration. So that's been something that like is obviously a theme in my life outside of this. So I've had to be aware, and that's where I'm an 8th house sun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. 8th house Aries sun, right? So holy shit, that one's a baddie. Powerful one for sure.
And a 12th house moon, so I just really can't catch a break.
Fire signs in the water houses, always intense. So let's see. Those are pretty much the questions that I had.
Can you see if people are asking questions? Because I can't see if people are
commenting.
Anybody
asking any questions. That was lit. Devil is more self-deception. Aries don't give a fuck. What's your Mercury sign?
Pisces. That's the cute one.
So Charlie said, it's a fine line when trying to plan with a large group, can be frustrating, but once plans start, they should stay as planned. But I'm a Taurus, obviously, that's how I see life. So sounds like Charlie is talking. So when did you know that it had stopped totally being a game at all? Because I think that was what was difficult for a lot of people, was learning.
I didn't know that Brooke had like side conversations with Heather Noctis. So I didn't know there was like a conspiracy to like keep negative cards. I didn't know about that. I wasn't present for that. I wasn't privy to that. So I knew it went off the rails. I assumed Brooke would pull the trigger early. I had a feeling because triggers kept getting pulled super early, but I knew the fact that it was launched on the day the Scorpio season started in the morning on a Tuesday morning, that it was out of control. And it was going to be really hard to reel back in. It was a Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I remember that because I was at work, and the first time I checked in, it was like super early in the morning too, and shit was already going downhill. And then I had to work for 3 hours and check it again after that, and then, it was.
I was busy too.
It was a spiral.
It was a spiral. And then as soon as I was like, okay, Brooke is going to do this. But I had already talked to Brooke and she was like, oh, I'll bring you back. I wasn't really insecure. But then once I knew Heather Noctis had taken over and that, they have their own types of emotions. These are people that are not bland people. They have emotions. So I knew Heather was going to have emotions about not being in this discussion because she's the type that would have wanted to be in the discussion even if she said nothing at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel she would have wanted to be included, and it would be maybe hard to explain to her why she wasn't initially. I think people took offense to not being involved in that group chat with me, you, Brooke, and Jen.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it was nothing personal and our intention was to add everybody to that as they came along, we didn't have time to explain. We didn't have time to cover our ass. We didn't have time to plan. It was just a free for all. And I bet if you look at the engagement, I'd be really interested to go back in time and look at the engagement on that Tuesday morning for those hours and then look at the engagement 1 week later. It hasn't even been 2 weeks.
It hasn't been 2 weeks. We're still not quite to the middle of Scorpio.
We just pulled the trigger quickly. Yeah. So I think that happened.
Huh. So obviously there's a lot that goes into it. There was a double cross between the bad cards, which I think thinking of them as the bad cards is kind of a weak way to look at them.
I don't like that either. There aren't really bad cards.
But traditionally, people would say that those are bad cards. But if you really wanted to say the bad cards, you would add the Moon into that, and you would add Hanged Man, because those are the major arcanas that are hard to get. And sometimes Judgment can be too, So it's I don't know. It feels like bad cards is a simplistic way to do it, but having the Scorpio card, Death, play a big role seemed pretty key. So now the incorporated group is kind of hobbling along. It seems to be actually growing again. What do you see for the future of this? What are you seeing in the future since you got the star card? What do you think's going to come of this?
What I think for the future is opportunity. What I learned is you have to kind of go through this darkness in order to even get to the light at the end. So I think this was necessary because it was very stagnant. We had a very sterile Virgo season. We tried that out and it was hard to recover from being so sterile. I think the future
Were you pro-sterile or anti-sterile during the Virgo season? Do you remember?
I liked it. I was pretty involved in the Virgo season. I didn't feel like people had my back. That was a really strange season to me. I kind of made my first graphic ever and did a contest and kind of just jumped in. I have no Virgo placements and I'm not a Virgo in any type of way. I liked it because I could tell people to stop personally attacking and I could delete people for being racist and sexist and homophobic, which is my favorite thing to do. So I liked it, but I could tell that it was much more boring. And then as different people were added on, I'm not a big muter. I don't mute people. They have to be pretty blatantly okay, that's horrible. You just made a joke about raping a baby. I'm not down with that. But as other people,
you're not down with that. You don't like those jokes.
No, I don't like rape jokes.
You know, like
It's not
baby.
funny.
Yeah, that's gross.
No
I think that
type of
those jokes are
food,
gross too. Just
molesting jokes. Somebody posted about like, why don't pedophiles like midgets? Like, I'm not down. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's useful. I don't think I think that's where we like differ. I differ from a lot of shit posters. I don't care. I don't I'm not interested in that.
yeah.
But I've
That
learned
is
to be
pretty
more
good.
tolerant, kind of. It depends on what kind of mood I'm in, if I'll let it fly or not. But usually, no, I deleted some rape stuff yesterday.
Oh,
You know who you are, dude. I kept deleting your shit. Yep.
from the association or from Inc.
It was from the association because I mean, if you want to, the way I see the future is like if you want to be super ratchet, gutter foul, go to
Inc.
go to Inc. Yeah. But if you want to be like a little bit more elevated and like intelligently shitpost, then come to the association and let's show how intelligent we are in the face of irreverence, which I think is a very useful narrative. I think that's what brings us together. Otherwise, because I learned a lot and there's a lot we didn't touch on, but like, I'm a very left person, very progressive, but I went to different places during this process and I saw that the left side of things can be very toxic as well. So I think we have to have a middle ground, but I still think some things should be like off limits, because it shouldn't be funny to anybody on a human level. So what I see for the future is us kind of evolving and getting out of this gutter, getting out of this like constant, need for trash fire and like making there be a reason behind the chaos. And then for even highbrow people to be like, oh, I see what you guys did. I see what you guys were able to do. I think that's really important. But I still think you should be able to say your ridiculous shit, in ink. So that's why I'm really happy that two groups came from it. And I see myself being more active in the association just because of the kinds of things I post. But when I'm in a really shitty mood and I want to say Geminis can go this and that, like
Mm-hmm.
I think it's cool to have. And also like going to other astrology groups because that's another thing. I go to other astrology groups and you notice like an influx this season of shit posting happening in the fancy McFancy groups, and I kind of just want to like do what people did for me and like tag our group and say, hey, like if you want to call all Libras hoes, like this isn't the place, but there's a place you can do that and learn in the process. And I think that's really good because I believe in satire. I believe in self-expression. I believe where else could I post like a thirsty ass picture and like radically love myself to death, So there's still importance, but I don't believe in like being racist, I don't believe sexism, whatever. I think astrology lends itself to that kind of a little bit
Masculine,
more.
feminine.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
racism, no, and then like children molesting and rape and stuff.
Yeah, that's shit's gross. Well,
Yeah.
the trash fires have basically since the beginning of shit posting been kind of the lights along the way for how we moderate it. So it's always been like how shitty or crazy things get, how much that takes over the group, how much negative energy it brings in is kind of what's helped to make the editorial choices. But there's definitely a lot of different political viewpoints, and there's room for a lot of different political viewpoints in astrology. Astrology is not liberal or conservative, and it's important for people to recognize that there's people from all different sides of the political spectrum that are involved in it. But we can definitely have the choice as admins what we allow on our space for sure. Because if you just allow everything, you'll end up with a really toxic place. And I think that shitposting can be toxic a little bit, but like a good kind of bitter, I guess, like more like the bitter of medicine rather than like the bitter of poison, I guess.
Yeah, like capers,
Capers?
Yeah, just like bitters, like in a flavorful editorial accents of bitterness. you can put in there, and I think it's safe. But if you just have an environment that allows people to be abusive and toxic and mean, like some of the stuff that, you know, happened in penny season, and just personal attacks that I've seen. Not so much in shit posting though. That's the thing, is I've been other places, and you want to talk about threads where people are ripping people to shreds. It's not happening in our group. So I had to really go there to see that we are a lot more compassionate than people say. We are a lot more tolerant. We are a lot more diverse than a lot of people say, because a lot of people, you know, they think, oh, all the admins are up Michael's ass. I mean, I'm in your DMs. I mean, I have great respect for you, especially as a writer and an intellectual. And I think that's where a lot of like my respect and reverence for you comes from. But some of the stuff you do, you're a Libra, you know, I'm an Aries. Like, I'm not tolerant of a lot of the stuff you do. And I say it, you know, and some of it's like, you know, I play it up in the group, and some of it, no, I'm like, for real, Michael, like, what the fuck is this, you know? And it was important for me to like let people know that Michael doesn't just pick people that agrees with him. I don't agree with him all the time.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was important for people to know, because people have it twisted. They really have it twisted. And there's no way to know. And for me, I don't know any other way, because I didn't spend any time in this world prior to being an admin at shitposting. I just was here instantly.
Cool. I feel like we're kind of at a pretty good stopping point. It has been pretty wonderful. Do you have any last thoughts for the crowd here that you want to impart some wisdom?
I want to say I'm really looking forward to hearing other people's point of view. I'm really looking forward to the future for us as a collective. And I think the association is a really good place for us to be more accessible with our members, and really have some interesting conversations and see what the future is going to hold. I want to apologize to anybody who was like personally afflicted in any type of way with any toxicity that was created from this. And I want to thank everybody who has tuned in and has been entertained. You know, it's been a really cool experience for me. I've had a really rough year, so I just want to thank you for facilitating this and helping me elicit change in my life. So it's been good for me, and but it hasn't been easy. And I just want people to know I'm genuine. That's important for me to share, is that I'm genuine, and the interactions that you get from me are genuine. Maybe other people have a different point of view and they're joking, and which is fine. I've had to learn that not everybody has to be genuine and raw all the time, but that's my role. And I'm not happy with how everything happened, but I'm a firm believer that everything happens as it should. So I think this has been a really big lesson for the participants involved, and I think we're not finished.
Yeah.
So,
well, we're not even halfway through Scorpio season, so I wouldn't assume that we'd be finished. And the election is still coming up, so there's going to be trauma in some level with some people, no matter which way it goes. So it'll be kind of interesting to see how all that plays out, and how we can maybe deal with that on our page and put out some good content around that too.
Absolutely. Because it's a microcosm, because it's one of the few places where you do have people of radically different camps. Because on my Facebook page, I don't have nobody that disagrees with me. There's not a single Republican on there, you know? So people have their own like curated worlds, and shitposting is a really good place to like see that there's other things out there. So I look forward to it. I want to thank you I know you have a family, I know you have stuff to do, and I know we've taken up a lot of your time. Thank you for doing this and facilitating this, because this isn't easy, managing so many different personalities. And I mean, I guess it's, if you don't have to make a decision and you're all Libra about it, it's easier, but still.
Yeah, I never make decisions, so it works pretty well. I basically outsource that to my group. So
or feel feelings. You have feelings for everybody, so that's fine.
Thanks for coming in and explaining your point of view. I'm really excited to bring more of the cards on. And excited to see what's going to happen when Jem finally gets unzucked, and whether she brings all the Tauruses on, or what's going to happen with Shitposting Inc.
We'll see. She's the high priestess, so she's got her own way.
She can do whatever she wants, and I did diss her a little bit. So we'll bring her on live at some point and see what happens.
Yes, and the last thing I said was get Jem. I did not sleep on you, Jem. Remember that. I did not sleep on you.
I also want to give the devil her due and do an interview with Brooke at some point, because that is pretty important, because I think that hopefully Brooke can actually teach us a little bit more about the positive aspects of the devil, because I think people see the devil as this ultimately negative card, and often that's how it comes up in our lives. But there's this generative, creative will aspect of the general,
and this power, this personal power, which is what the devil represents too.
It's pretty important. And power doesn't always have to be domination power. It can be different aspects of power. It's like there's not just the toxic masculine, there's also the divine masculine, and both of those can kind of come up. So it's been great. I'm excited for the next couple rounds. Thanks for talking to me, Star. And
thank you. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.